violence is a global phenomenon. The World Health Organization estimates that 35% of women have experienced sexual violence. In fact, the WHO calls the issue rampant.
But sometimes he would take his fingers and put it in my private part.
My foster mother's son sexually abused me at 9.
And I drank the water.
Were you married before that time?
In 2018, finally futu talebang.
Nana fudu tale 2000.
Yes, I was once married in the year 2000.
Can you tell us who you were married to?
Finally, the malam worked out in Memphis futu.
Kanyi Kanyi.
Can you just tell us a little bit about who Kanyi was, what kind of person he was?
Fending Fonyi Bang, Jumala Mu Kanyi ti Mumo Fason Matilum.
Kanyi. Kanyi mungke maleti. Abota jarale bot nagasiring bontale.
He was my husband from Jara
Jason.
From Jara Jason,
Nagasiring bontale.
but was resident in Bonto.
The afama abama ninte fama bakili fakili.
His mother and my father are biological siblings.
Okay.
So you were basically relatives. He was your cousin.
Na brother mata murkote kem fututai.
He's my brother, and at the same time, I got married to him.
What kind of a person was he? What was his personality like?
Hadamaya.
He was a famous person, and he loved everybody, and many people also liked him. He was that type of person.
Was he involved in any political activity at all?
Yes, he was involved in politics. He was a UDP supporter. And he was very instrumental within the party. And he had so many challenges, there are fights within the party.
You would say he was a strong supporter of the UDP party.
Yes, he was a strong supporter.
During the time that you were married, was he working?
Yes, he was working at the CCF.
And you said you were both living in Bonto at the time.
Yes, we were living in Bonto.
Would you happen to know what the meaning of CCF is?
For CCF, isa koto lonne fama abunekum munefem.
CCF. CCF no. Jama do ko ka wala ke doram.
Well, they work for many people.
I believe CCF is called Christian Children's Fund.
Amunta kafu do kubunda yimfoto CCF, wala Christian Children's Fund. Wala Christian dindimul na fulu bunda e kamene ka dindimul makoy.
Yes, that was his work.
And do you know what kind of work he was doing with them?
Wala no bitul atakamun do ku fasonne ke do ku bunda nyina.
He was involved with child affairs mostly.
Thank you very much for that. Around September 2006 or so, I believe you were still married to him.
Remember, by September 2006,
Yes.
And you were still living in Bonto?
Yes.
Can you tell us if anything significant happened around that period?
Okay.
Yes.
Now footballer covering 2016.
We were married from
2006.
We were married from 2000 to 2006.
September
On the 18th of September,
Ata tultani warawla.
17th.
17th.
Atata som.
He went to some.
Yanta doku dole kilela office puru yanta luntangol la sotala.
There was some work he had to do at their office because they were expecting strangers.
Ati buka di masu doku.
Usually they did not work on Sunday.
Ati doku la busy in Kenya kamala.
But because of the busy schedule at the time,
Anata finji suwa kana somenda.
he left home early morning.
Wanya kombita somle because na doku busy rin yanta luntangol la sotala.
He informed me that he was going to some because they were busy and they were expecting visitors.
I believe it's Soma. Sorry, I believe she says Soma, not Som. Soma.
Some.
Som. There is a village called Som in Funi.
All right, thank you.
Wanya ko yanta doku dole kelaji.
He told me that there was some work he was supposed to do there.
Anata taji.
And then he went there.
Abra filatela office.
When he got to his office,
Akai office otar soroni.
he said he found the office locked.
Anata ta suwo kono.
Then he went home,
Ni membe doku walaji.
the home of one of his co-workers
Kafa ibu jaju.
called Ibu Jaju.
Lebe office o nyintoji.
He is the one at the office there.
Rata ono masuwo kono.
He went after that person in his house.
Sefo do mala wotiji.
That was the younger brother of the chief.
Bira fitaraji.
When he got there,
Anata meeting otaraji.
he found a meeting taking place there.
Can you tell us which chief you're referring to?
Be sefu jumale maonya.
Basiru jaju.
Basiru Jaju.
And what chief was he? What area?
Abe sefu ala mintole tundu jumakang.
Kumbo East.
Combo East.
And where was his house?
And abe siri sate jumale to.
Som.
Some.
Please carry on.
And then
Anata bira ko bira fitaraji.
When he got there,
Ay mol taraji anata dambundar.
he found people there, so he only stopped at the door
Abulo wulindi ibuye.
and waved at Ibu
Ra chabo dialana.
so that he could hand over the keys to him.
Abulo wulindi dame.
But where he waved his hand,
Dibite membije ka fay junkonte.
the member of parliament who was there called Junkonte
Ko wonata wuli.
got up
Ako fenke babu kari jata
and told Babukar Jatta.
Can you kindly tell us, Junkonte, you said he was a National Assembly member.
ko jum konte mo deputy holti.
Can you tell us which party he was representing at the National Assembly?
Atebe party jumale kono wotumo deputy bunula.
APRC.
APRC.
And what about Babukar Jatta? Which Babukar Jatta are you referring
Be
to?
Babukar Jatta jumale maonya.
Time atelamu interior minister.
At the time, he was the interior minister.
Kindly tell us what happened next.
Lam tente ya fo jumuna natake.
Abrin junkonte diamata babu kari.
After Junkonte spoke to Babukar
Kaya nyi menjiteng.
and said to him, this man you are seen like this,
Ine moti jang me alo ay batandina politiko kono bake.
this is the very person who is causing us a lot of trouble here in terms of politics.
Kaya posin bala mo nyinti jang.
And said to him, he's a big poison.
Na diamata mo moy birin jang fu bandala.
When he speaks to anyone from here up to Bantala,
Outside.
or until outside,
Ibe ka tella ko mo moy.
all of them listen to his speech.
Mole mati me ala ay batandina politiko kono.
And he's someone that is disturbing us a lot in our politics here.
Ako babu kar na ta kumandi.
He said then Babukar called him
Nonsense kuma jama fay.
and said a lot of nonsense things to him,
Raman na fim fay.
but he didn't say anything back to him.
Te ka ene doron tanchu.
All he said to him was, thank you.
And this is an event that your husband was narrating to you, is that correct?
Ni mukule ti me yalon ko e ke ma fo na nata ni sate yebang.
Ya famala satan.
Yes, he was the very one who narrated this to me.
Can you give us more detail about this nonsense you said Babukar Jatta was telling him, just briefly?
So sai waira ko Babukar Jatta e nonsense kumo le fay fo afana yo fe no nonsense kumo lu mun kuma fason le mu.
Raman na auto ko indima.
He did not clarify those for me.
And can you tell us, if you know, what was happening in that meeting? What kind of meeting was it?
Fo yalon ni ba wo be men ibaka wonya mum ben fason nem.
APRC meeting wala bi.
It was an APRC meeting.
Would you happen to also remember if there was any significant event happening in the next days?
For hakilo simuta kabolu la do mitun ke kallumen ati anyatola mosafo bemujin luno kola fo kulle be pareri menu nyanta kala menu ske ko kukum maluti wotilo kono.
What time President Carter Fatou occurring?
At the time the presidential elections were happening.
We are approaching.
And that is the 2006 presidential elections.
Well, in 2006, President Carter Fatou.
Yes.
And how many days prior to the election did this particular conversation take place?
Ni hakilo samura tilijelle tutanu tumu janning President Carter Fatou.
It was 3 days.
Ani di kamu tala 3 days.
No. No, when he was arrested, it was 3 days to the elections. But when the meeting took place, it was 4 days to the elections.
Kindly tell us who else attended that meeting apart from Babukar Jata and June Conte, as well as Ibu Jaju and the chief?
Ibu Jaju, Sefu, Babukar Jata, June Conte, will call a fair hakilos mudu mutalabang, minuma beta obengoto.
Yes, they also named one other individual.
June Conte ni Morio Jaju.
June Conte and Moria Jaju. Those were the ones that were pestering Babukara a lot with a lot of talk.
And it's clear from the conversation that you just told us that your husband was very influential, or perhaps the APRC party felt that he was quite influential within the community.
And APRC ike mamu muleti me ya lonko ay kamo soto bake political la karola wotundo kan.
Yes.
And as a result, there was a lot of animosity between him and the APRC supporters in that meeting.
Tu dalilo le ya sabu munta konante atata anim molute ma menu be APRC party kono.
Yes.
Did your husband tell you what was the eventual outcome of that discussion they had?
For the Kemanata Fene, Laudia Mulu, Menikataji Wulu, Wokola, Anatamune Sabu.
Anata Montorola Sabatama.
It caused suffering for him. Because after they left that place, after the meeting, June Conte said to Babukar, this guy that has come here, what do you say about his case? The people who were there, they said that Babukar Jata replied to him and said, even if this guy had come here to listen to our meeting, I don't think that has caused any harm to our party in any way. But all of that, despite, many people spoke on the issue, and they were telling Babukar, if you would not do anything about this matter, this man would become someone who would be causing us a lot of trouble here.
And he is going to mock us.
When Babukar left, he went to his office in Kanifing. At the time, his boss, Usman Cham, had traveled. But the deputy was there, and he met him, called Kassel. And he explained the whole matter to Kassel.
What transpired between him and Kanyiba at that meeting place in Som?
Just to get you right, madam, your husband was being accused of spying on the APRC meeting, is that correct?
Amunta itilini mutako ikemanata ilamu itolulale punin kamala asitete lakumu satakaradola fonte.
Yes.
And as a result, the interior minister who was part of that meeting had to go and lodge a complaint with his boss.
And ko kama wala na memo interior minister tinu wanata nata katawasi ila nyaton koe.
Yes.
Okay, tell us what happened after that.
Ila office.
When he went to their office, and explained what transpired between the two of them to Kassel. And then he told him there that we could arrest him any day because he used to cause us a lot of trouble in our politics. Kassel was not brave enough because he was not a citizen of this country. That was on a Sunday. Monday morning.
Before we get to Monday morning, can you tell us the full name of Kassel? Is that his surname or his first name?
Janimbe futala tele lungo somanda Kassel eko Kassel. Atole mutu bamfa konto le mutu bamfo atona konto mumuneti.
I don't know that. It's only Kassel I know.
And you said he was based in the CCF office in Kanifing, is that correct?
Ndiko atebeni CCF office to Kanifing.
Yes.
And that is the headquarters, I believe.
Yes.
You also said he's a foreigner. Do you know from which country he came from?
No, I don't. I don't know which country he's from, but from his own mouth and what my husband used to explain from me, I know that he's not a native of this country. Because when the problem happened, I asked him what the reason was, but perhaps he was afraid because he was not a citizen. But we'll also get there as well.
And because he was afraid, what happened? How did he react? So tell us, and kindly tell us why he was afraid. What information did you receive?
For isalon mune akendi asilata mi mun kibar le foite mun na Kassel silata.
Just like at that time, the way that the APRC was like in the country. Since anyone that was not behind them, you can have problems anytime. I believe he was scared of that.
So he wanted to do whatever they said or told him.
It was that fear which was why on the Monday morning he came to their office in Faraba because he himself works at Kuloro. But one of their offices is in Faraba.
Who works at Kuloro?
Kanyi.
Please continue.
When he went to Faraba, he called for a meeting. But before that, in the morning, they were supposed to have a workshop. He went and did all the marketing he got all the condiments for the program. And he said to me, today our cooks have not come, so that you cook for us and I'll come and pick it up. He left home. I was there. Well, one of our neighbors called Karamba Jame came. I heard it first from him. He said to me, but your husband is in a problem. I asked him, what's the matter? He said, I don't know what's happening, but there's a big meeting, a very important meeting taking place in their office today. And he said to me, and I believe that the meeting is concerning his problem.
And this was, sorry, madam, this was the same meeting you were telling us about that your husband went to at Faraba, at their office there. You're just explaining what happened at the meeting according to Karabak Jame.
Munda karamba men fo ate men be fo benuni katanya men oto fo nyaba.
Kema meeting ko kumandi jere.
My husband did not call for the meeting. In fact, they called for the meeting.
Kanyiba wale workshop to Kuloro.
Kanyiba, they had a workshop in Koloro.
Kasel na ranaje ko ira meeting la Farawa.
Castle came there and said that they should go to Farawa for a meeting. So Karamba found them in that meeting.
We understand. Kindly tell us what Karamba Jame told you about what happened in the meeting.
I asked him what happened, and he said he does not know. But it's your husband's issue. So my mind clicked. Because earlier in the evening, as we were discussing, he hinted me on this problem. So my mind reflected to that, and I said, perhaps that is the problem that he was telling me about. It did not pass 2 hours after. I saw them come to the house, and all the co-workers. I said to him, what's the matter? He said, well, our food, we want to eat it here. And he said, the problem I was explaining to you yesterday.
And that is your husband?
Yes.
Please continue.
No problem on him, Babu Karitata reporting office.
He said that problem, Babkar went to our office and reported. And he said, in fact, where I am now, they said that they can arrest me any moment. After he said that to me, I went outside. His co-workers were sitting under the mango tree and they were chatting. But this same issue was what they were discussing. He said Kassel asked him to take off from work for 2 weeks. And then he said to them, no problem. One of my colleagues is there who is not well. And the sickness that the person has, they say that it can be cured at the Zigansar hospital. In fact, I had wanted to ask for permission so that you could allow me to take him there so that he could access medicines. And since now that you have asked me to stay away from work for 2 weeks, he said to them, well, that's fine.
You're saying that your husband got suspended for 2 weeks by Kassel.
Yes.
And was that as a result of the complaints that Babukar Jata made to him?
Yes, that was the cause.
And you said that Kassel was afraid and that's why he made that decision.
Yes.
Can you tell us whether his suspension was valid under the circumstances?
No, that shouldn't have been, because that even caused anger amongst his colleagues at work. All of them threatened to resign from work before the end of the 2 weeks. Because they did not suspend him on any good reason. After that, we were there, and in the night, sorry, before that,
okay. What we made today?
It's been a long time, so
that's fine. It's okay. Just take your time, and when you
I don't want to say something that did not happen.
That's okay.
All of them threatened to resign, and they did that as well. Yes.
What happened later on in the day?
We were there until sunset. Even before that, in the morning, I was there.
One man came there. He said he's from Lamin.
And this was the morning before your husband came with his colleagues and had lunch. Whilst your husband was at the meeting.
It's the day that he came with his colleagues.
Please carry on.
When he came there, he greeted and said to me, I am asking for someone. I said to him, who is that person? And he said to me, they said his name is Karabulai. I said to him, I don't know Karabulai here. He stood there for some time. I said, what's the matter? He said, my older brother sent me to him. He told me that person's name, but I cannot recall it. I asked him, what has he sent you for? He said, I think they had some financial dealings. But that man is working at the CCF. And I noticed that it was the name of the person that he could not recall.
And did this man tell you what his name was or where he was from?
He told
me his name, but since it's been a long time, I honestly cannot recall. While we were in that discussion, and he said to me, in fact, I am tired. He said, because I went up to the main town, and I have not seen him there. I said to him, well, for me, I don't know anyone with the name Karabulai. But then at that time, I was suspicious because at the time, everybody knew the state of the country at that time. Because if your relative comes to you, or a close person comes to you and tells you that I have a problem, and some strange person comes asking for him, you will not be, you'll be hesitant to acknowledge knowing that person. Because at the time I knew that Karabulai was very close to Kanyi.
And did you have any suspicions whatsoever about where this person could have come from?
I
was suspicious that he could be a crooked person. Because the way he was speaking, I was not very impressed with him. And I also knew that my husband was the only person at that place working at the CCF. But I did not tell him. And he said to me, I am going. But when he left, that time my younger brother with whom I was staying at the house had gone to school.
Is that brother or sister?
So female.
Kindly continue.
When he left, she said to me, but I'm suspicious of this man. He said, because I came with this man and we were in the same vehicle. And this guy was in front of me and I was following behind. When he came, he went through the back door and I was speaking to him. And when my sister came, she went through the front door. She said to me, I heard him tell you that he's gone up to the main town and he's tired. I told her, well, just allow him to go because he has not also gotten any information here to take along.
So in fact, your sister was suspicious that he was lying because he had come straight to your house.
Munta ila uduma asobita ko kenyumbe fani yalla katubiri ramuto kono amanta sate ba kono ina nata alla sole kono je.
Yes.
So which means he knew exactly where to find you. So this whole story about him searching the whole town for Kanyi was not true.
Amunda atayalon ne abitala damim ka foko atata sate ba kono kata nyinindiro je obemu kuma soto balolti.
Yes.
So what happened next?
It was after that they came to the house. You know, I had narrated that before. When his workmates went home, he went out and told me that he was going to the shop to charge. That was the time that I called his younger sibling, Fatou Kanyi. I said to him, go to the house. Since his uncle is my father, I told him, go and tell him to come here and appeal to him to leave the house because what is happening is not safe. I told him because I have spoken to him, but he said that he's a citizen of this country and that he was going nowhere.
So you were concerned because of the events that happened?
Yes.
First of all, he had an issue at an APRC meeting the day before.
Yes.
He was then threatened with being arrested.
Yes.
And then he was suspended from his work.
Yes.
So why did you ask him to leave the house?
Because at that time the state of the country was not safe.
What wasn't safe about it?
Because the German government was very serious because they would arrest someone and make them disappear. And that was what scared me a lot. That was the reason why I told him to leave the house.
Could you remember any specific cases of people being disappeared?
Yes, at the time I knew that some people disappeared.
Can you give us some examples?
I can say because one day as we sat down chatting and the news was on, that was the time that Dabo Marina and others were arrested. And then they announced that they were taking them. The car somersaulted and the people escaped. At that time, I was seated with him and we were chatting. He even told me, in fact, that is good. If not, they can't do anything to these people. But after that, we got to hear that they were killed. At the time, people like Chief Mane were also disappeared, and many other people.
So you were concerned, especially because of the influence your husband had within the UDP party, that the same thing would happen to him.
Yes, I was scared because at that time the UDP was a party in this country that was not always in line with the APRC party.
And we have also received a lot of evidence about some of the experiences the UDP members had. the APRC party?
No, kibaro soto UDP ko dul fanalu mu tambita in APRC party on tema.
We have heard how they were attacked, arrested, and tortured. Did you hear about any of these stories?
Na moy ye boyinkang ye dolumuta ye balo tagire ya fo infanalu dolumu ele bang.
Yes, I hear those.
Do you have any specific examples?
For ete fana ye wolu menu moy wonya fo klimbije le simen fo no nye.
Yes.
Just briefly tell us perhaps what you've heard before.
Or
maybe you've had personal experience.
Because at the time, UDP and the APRC, whenever they met, at that time, even my uncle, there was one presidential election which happened before. I have forgotten the year of the elections. That day was the day that Hussein was to return from the provinces. We went to meet him on the highway. At the time, Yaya Jammeh and these people were also going over. And we were waiting for Hussein. There was a big fight there.
And on that day, my dad's stepfather, who was among the people who went to wait for Hussein Dabo, was seriously beaten that day.
Who was he?
He was my father's younger brother.
What was his name?
I told him.
His name is Landon Kanyi.
So you have had personal experience of these kind of things happening?
Yes.
Did you feel that the UDP party were particularly targeted by the government or by the APRC party?
Very well.
And what about your husband? Did you feel that he was also a target because of his stance?
I'm suspicious of that, yes.
And that is why you asked him to leave, because you were concerned about his safety.
Yes.
But he refused to listen to you. And